Now, why are we going through all this trouble? Because I promise you that probably 80% of the time when you have no spark, it is not your coil. Hey y'all, thanks for tuning back into Chickanic. I hope everybody's having a great week. Today we are going over one of the most common parts that customers come in assuming that they need, but what does assuming do? It makes you spend money that you don't need to. So today we're talking fire. So what is fire? Well, if you're in the South in America, you already know what it is, but for everybody else, it is fire. And if you come in my shop and you tell me you ain't got no fire, that means that you believe that your ignition coil is not sparking enough to actually get the machine running. But before we jump into today's video, if you're a fan of saving time, money, and frustration while fixing your own small engine equipment while watching in-depth tutorials, you've come to the right place because that's what I do. I upload a couple times a week, and if that sounds interesting, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell, and please leave a comment. I love to read through the comments, and I will reply to all the early commenters. So first off, you're going to want to get a spark tester. Now I have this bad boy right here made by Echo, and it's awesome, but it is expensive, and you do not need an expensive one. I will leave a link in the description box below if you'd like to get one like mine, but I will also leave a link for a very inexpensive one that works just as well. Now a lot of people say that they can just hold it to the engine block or they can hold it in their hand. Ouch. Don't do that. I don't want you getting shocked, but if you hold it to the engine block, a lot of times you just can't see it. And also you gotta have two people doing it. You have to have somebody pulling for you while you're holding it just to make sure that you do have spark or not. So I'm gonna go over a few units that are gonna show you the principles on how to check fire on anything you have. That way you can be confident to know whether you really gotta buy that expensive part or not. Now trimmers by far are the easiest ones to check fire on if you have a good brand. Most of the good brands make it really easy to take this top cover off to where you can get to the kill wires on the ignition module. Pretty simple. If you have one of the Troy-Bilt brands, Craftsman's brands, a lot of times you've got to disassemble the entire thing to actually get to the coil. I don't work on them anymore because of multiple reasons, but a lot of times if your coil's out on one of those, you're not going to want to replace it anyways because you can buy another one for pretty much almost the same cost. So the Echoes are super simple. Couple bolts takes the entire top shroud off. It's going to be the same on the bigger steels. There's a couple bolts in the back, maybe one bolt up front, maybe two bolts up front, and one bolt in the back. Takes the entire shroud off. It brings you to your ignition module and your kill wire. Now on the steel FS55, it's got multiple, I think 7 bolts underneath it holding the top shroud to it, so you'll have to find all them and get them out to take the top shroud off to get to this part, but once you're there it's pretty simple. And you're able to check for fire because the rewind is still attached, so that's good. Once you get to this point, do not bend back and forth to get the terminal off. Just pull it straight off or get your pliers under it to give it some leverage, but do not bend it back or forth because you can bend this and break it off. Next, we will remove our spark plug and attach our checker to the plug boot and to cylinder. You can do it to the muffler, anywhere that there's metal, anywhere you got a good connection. Let me bring you in closer so we can see if we got spark. It is best if you darken everything up in case you can't see that well. I'm going to pull this and try to get it to where y'all can see it. Hopefully y'all can see that. It's got lots of spark. It's good to go. Now to show you how you do it on a push mower, I brought out my Toro with a Briggs & Stratton Quantum engine on it. One of the best ones ever made. But it's going to be pretty much the same for any push mower that you have. Although the engine might be different, the principles are the same. Now to be honest, the first thing I check whenever I feel like a machine has no fire is not the coil when it comes to push mowers. It's the actual kill cable itself. So to make sure that it's not your control zone kill cable, you're going to want to compress it, follow it down where it goes to the engine, and you're going to want to make sure that it's actually engaging correctly. If it is not moving or your cable is broken, it will not release the kill switch that's connected to the engine. So once you're confident that your cable is still intact, you're going to find your spark plug and you're going to remove the boot, take your plug out. Now, why do we remove the plug? It just makes it a lot easier to turn the engine over to check for spark while it's out. So before you do anything to initially check, you know your cable's working good, you're gonna plug your spark tester up to your plug boot. You're gonna connect the other end to a metal section of your mower. You've got your head right here, you can do it to that. You're gonna leave your spark plug out and you're going to look at it while you have somebody else pull the mower, because you can't be at both ends at once, and check for spark. But if you don't have spark, you're gonna have to get into it. Now, I would tell you what tools to use to take your shrouds off, but they're all going to be different. So like these, it takes Phillip heads. Yours might be an 8mm. I don't know, so you're just going to have to figure that out. So a lot of the newer mowers, you're not going to have to worry about it because the plastic shroud assembly on the top is actually also the rewind. So it all comes off as one piece and you're immediately to the flywheel and the ignition module. So it's much easier to get to. Mine has layers though. I'm gonna have to take the gas tank off, which is 8mm bolts, and then the metal rewind shroud, it takes 3/8. On these particular Briggs Quantum engines, you'll have the 2 bolts in the front. You'll have 2 bolts in the back, one down there, one on the other side. Also, don't forget you have a 8mm bolt holding your oil drain tube on. All right, so I got all my bolts out. I can take my metal shroud off. And I'm to the ignition module. Now, once you've gotten to your coil, you're going to want to look somewhere around it. There is a prong that has a lead connected to your kill wire, and you're going to want to remove that from your ignition module. Once you've unplugged that wire, now you know that it is not prohibiting the mower from starting whatsoever. So you know that all that you're worried about is your coil. If there's still no spark after we put it back together and try it, then we know for sure 100% that we have a bad coil. So like I said, on the other ones, it's gonna be a lot easier because you're just gonna be able to throw the top back on. But on these, I got layers. I gotta put a few back on so I can actually pull the rewind and see if we have any spark. Someone loves their belly rubbed. Kashi! Really? Now that I have the rewind assembly put back on so we can pull it and check for spark, we have the kill wire unattached so we know that it is in no way affecting the ignition module because it's going straight from the flywheel to the ignition module to this lead to our spark tester. We have our spark tester connected to our plug boot. On the other side, it is connected to the head, some metal section of the mower. And we are going to check for spark now. And you will want to have somebody else pull on it for you so you can get close and see it well. And yes, we have a good spark there. So we know that we have a good ignition module. So initially, to check spark, you're going to break out your spark tester because it's really hard. A lot of times people think they don't have spark because they're just holding it to their engine block, the end of their plug, and they can't see it. And I gotta say, I can't see anything anymore. So I just never trust that way. You've got to have a spark checker to make sure that you have no fire. If you have a riding mower, it is the same pretty much as a push mower. You're gonna have to take those shrouds off the top and get to your coil. As soon as you do, you can see your kill wire, unplug it, check for fire, exactly the same way. Now, why are we going through all this trouble? Because I promise you that probably 80% of the time when you have no spark, it is not your coil. It is either a switch or a broken wire on the way to the coil from your kill switch. So I just don't want you to have to spend the money to replace a part that you don't need. Now on the backpack blowers, the steel, it's pretty simple. Looks tasking, but it's not. You got 3 bolts holding the rewind on, 4 bolts holding this whole back shroud on, and you're right directly to the ignition module. You take those wires off. You do have to put everything back on to check fire, but it's the same premise. There are some blowers such as the Echo and Shindawa, and I believe some of the Husqvarnas that the coil is located maybe under the bottom or somewhere different, but they actually have wires with a connection in the centers to where there's a kill wire going from the coil to this connector, and then from that connector to the throttle trigger. So you can just unconnect that section right there and you're good to go. Chainsaws are also super simple to check. You know that your clutch and sprocket are on the other side, so usually the flywheel is on this side with the rewind. You're just going to remove the few bolts that are holding this rewind cover off, and let's check out where that coil is underneath. Now that we got the side cover off, you can see there's a little prong with your kill wires. You'll just unhook that and you can check for fire to make sure that if your coil's bad or not. Last but not least, handheld blowers. Now Stihl's handheld blowers are super simple to check too. The side that has the plug and the plug wire on it, all you have to do is take that entire side cover off. It's just a few bolts and you can get immediately to your ignition module, unplug your kill wire, put it back on, pull it and see if you got any spark. Now the Echoes, they're a little tougher. Now, why are they tougher? Because the ignition module in this thing is deep down in the center and you have to go through layers to get to it. So let's check for fire on it, see if it's got any. So we got our spark checker hooked up. We've got it to the metal muffler here. I do have it in the on position. We're gonna pull it and let's see what we got here. Nothing at all. Ugh. So this thing has no fire and I'm pretty confident that it is the coil. There's really no need to check the kill wires and the kill switch on this one. I can tell you from 12 years of experience of working on them and selling these products that they never have issues with their kill switch or their wires. It is the coil when it does happen. The good part about it is though that Echo offers a lifetime warranty on the ignition module, which means for the first 5 years, they're gonna pay for the part and the labor, and after that 5 years they still pay for that expensive ignition module. You'll just have to pay for the labor to put it in. Now if you didn't register your product and you do have to change out your coil, I made a video. I will leave a link right above. It shows you exactly how to do it. It's super simple. Hopefully it'll save you some time, money, and frustration in the future. So thanks again for tuning in to Chickanic. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Chickanic. Find us at Instagram at The Real Chickanic, or find us at Chickanic.com where you can get t-shirts, hoodies, or long sleeve shirts. Thanks, and have a great day.